So I decided before I got my final blocks in on the south side to bring the skid steer in and try to get things closer to grade. I was scraping the top off here, trying to get her down and start to fill in around the blocks. It's funny how you think you have it figured out on where you want your grade to end and start and all that kind of stuff. But I realized I probably had my pad a little higher than I want it. You want 4 to 6 inches of rock to level out things, and I probably should have had more rock in underneath, but here you can see I'm starting to compact the footing and then bringing in some fresh rock, trying to start getting things to grade. I believe this is some 1-inch clean rock. I really want it to have a 6-inch slab of concrete, and that maybe is more than what I need it, but I'd rather have my floor be overbuilt than underbuilt. However, with the added cost in concrete, I was really debating on pouring my slab thinner. I'd like to be able to pull skid steers and forklifts and have heavy stuff on the floor and not worry about damaging or cracking my floor. But in reality, my last shop I built with at first it had 3 garage doors in it, and I believe it only had 2, but I had framed in for 3. And quickly 3 became 2 and 2 became 1 and 1 became none, because my shop got filled up and I never really pulled a vehicle into it more than a couple times. It was a little small, even when you'd pull a vehicle in, didn't quite have the room to work around it. I'm hoping with this shop that being bigger, I'll be able to pull a vehicle in or equipment in and have the space that I need. But I also know that no matter how big your shop is, nature abhors a vacuum or something like that. So it'll end up getting filled up. But I'm going to do my best to keep it to where I can always pull in some equipment. So here we're trying to get everything to grade. I really went back and forth on how to get it level, and I probably was being a little more picky than I needed to be, but everything starts at the foundation. Brad, one of my stakeholders from Kansas City, came and spent a few days. We spent some time hunting and just enjoying time together, grilling and working on this pad. It's really crazy how much some gravel and some dirt work can really change how things look and feel. I've got these 8-inch C-purlins, and I decided that we would try to put them in at grade and use them for screed boards. So here we are getting those set up, using the laser and getting them to grade. And then I was going to use one of these 20-foot purlins so that we could grade with it a larger section at a time. I decided I was going to put in some radiant floor heat tubing just in case I decide to put in radiant floor heat. So all of this stuff affects at what grade you want to take your gravel to and how thick your slab is going to be when the final pour comes. So with that radiant floor heat, you can see here I got rolls of insulated underlayment. That underlayment is about a 1/2 inch thick, so that takes away from the slab thickness as well. We're getting things pretty close to grade here. I took and we blocked up on either side of the block and brought in some gravel and filled the block and drove the skid steer over top of it. I was kind of nervous about doing it because I really didn't want to break the block, but it all worked out pretty good. I ended up later on using a shop vac to clean out that block and get all the rock out of every single cell. Here we're just making sure we compact the rock real good. We ran over it many times. I'm gonna get the insulation underlayment down so we can start tying in some rebar. Thankfully, it wasn't too windy. We ended up fighting the wind a little bit, but not too bad. We did a lot of dirt work to get this shop to where it's at. On the far side of the pad, I think there's 7 foot of lift. So I really wanted to make sure everything was compacted good. Thankfully, the fact that we had poured the footing and got lots of rain and plenty of time went by, this pad has had plenty of time to not only be compacted but to be rain settled. You can see we drilled holes for our rebar. We're going to put rebar every 16 inches, and we're cleaning out all the holes, getting the dust out from the drilling of the rebar. And then we're going to epoxy in the rebar. We're getting our rebar laid out here kind of in a grid pattern, and my son was drilling the rebar and I told him, you know, go every other hole. Well, I didn't take the time to make sure that we drilled the same cells on the opposite side. So as you'll see later on, some rebar runs straight across to the other side, and some's going to run not straight across. So anyways, it's not going to affect a whole lot of things, but it would have been nice to have the holes directly across from each other and keep my rebar nice and square. By this point, I think my son was pretty tired of drilling holes. We drilled a lot of holes. I think, I don't even remember how many holes we would have had to drill, but it was a lot. I ended up putting so much rebar in this shop build. I don't remember exactly. I know I ordered a bundle of rebar, which is, I think, 150 sticks. And I think all in all, by the time it was said and done, we put at least 3 bundles of rebar in the floors and the walls. On top of, I purchased some number 5 rebar for around the windows and doors and the headers. So this is number 4 rebar, and they number rebar. You have 3, 4, 5, whatever, and basically that is 1/8 of an inch. So number 4 is a 1/2 inch rebar. Number 5 is 5/8. So that's how they number rebar. We've got these rebar stands. They're going to hold your rebar up off the ground so when you pour mud. Ideally, you want your rebar not sitting on the bottom and not too close to the top. So these stands kind of help the rebar stay where it needs to be. A lot of guys will just pour their concrete and pull their rebar up, but where that rebar lays in the pad is pretty critical, so I wanted to use stands to help keep it where it needed to be. We're getting all the rebar tied and epoxied into the edges. We're starting to tie the rebar in the middle, getting it up on the stands, and then next we're going to get our radiant tubing out, and it's going to lay right on top of the rebar. There's going to be 4 runs of radiant tubing. There'll be 4 different loops. So, whole lot of tying going on. But we'll have to get that in the next video. This has been Patrick with MT Knives. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.